That night, as she practiced, Anna imagined herself at that grand piano instead of serving drinks beside it. The thought followed her into dreams where she played for a room full of people who finally listened. Friday arrived with a steady drizzle that turned the city streets slick and reflective. Anna stood at her apartment window, watching raindrops race down the glass while she sipped her morning coffee. The charity gala for the symphony was tonight, and a strange knot of feelings had settled in her stomach. Part dread, part something else she couldn't quite name. Her phone buzzed with a weather alert. The rain would continue all day, which meant more taxis and ride-shares, fewer people walking, the kind of night that made rich people even less inclined to venture out. But the event was sold out. 300 guests at $500 a plate to support the symphony's education program. The irony wasn't lost on her. Anna practiced for 2 hours before her shift, focusing on the competition piece until her wrists ached. She'd have to leave early today to make it to work on time. Mr. Keller had called an all-staff meeting before the event. The restaurant was transformed when Anna arrived. The regular dining tables had been removed, replaced by round tables covered in cream-colored linen and elaborate centerpieces of white orchids and floating candles. Crystal chandeliers had been installed overnight, casting a warm glow over everything. And there, in the center of the main room, stood a gleaming black grand piano. Anna couldn't help herself. She walked toward it slowly, like approaching a wild animal. It was a Steinway, the kind she'd played during her brief time at the conservatory. The kind she dreamed about owning someday, in some distant future where dreams actually came true. "Don't even think about touching it," Denny said as he hurried past with a clipboard. "The tuner just left, and if anything happens to it, we're all fired." Anna stepped back, but her eyes lingered on the instrument. It looked almost alive in the center of the room, commanding attention even in silence. The staff meeting was quick but intense. Mr. Keller stressed the importance of tonight's event. Many of the city's wealthiest arts patrons would be present, along with the symphony director and board members. "Nothing can go wrong," he said, making eye contact with each server. "This could mean regular event bookings from the Symphony Foundation. I don't need to tell you what that would mean for the restaurant. And for your tips." Everyone nodded. Good connections meant good money. Simple math. "One more thing," Mr. Keller added. "The pianist they arranged for tonight, Viktor Andropov, called an hour ago. He's sick. Some kind of stomach bug." A murmur went through the staff. The pianist was supposed to be the entertainment highlight of the evening. "So what happens now?" Lou asked. "They bringing someone else?" Mr. Keller frowned. "They're trying, but it's short notice. Might end up being just background music from the sound system." Anna felt her heart rate pick up. Before she could think better of it, she heard herself speak. "I can play." The room went quiet. Every head turned toward her. "You what?" Mr. Keller asked. Anna swallowed hard. "I can play the piano. Classical music. I studied at the conservatory for 3 years." Mr. Keller stared at her, and Anna could practically see the wheels turning in his head as he remembered their brief exchange days ago. She hadn't meant to offer, had never intended to expose this part of herself to her workplace. But that piano, that beautiful Steinway sitting there, it felt like it was calling to her. Playing, for your own enjoyment, is different than performing for 300 people paying $500 each, he said. Carefully. "I know," Anna replied. "I've performed before. I was on track for a performance degree before I had to leave school." The other servers were looking at her like they'd never seen her before. Maybe they hadn't, not really. Mr. Keller checked his watch. "The event coordinator will be here in 20 minutes. Play something for me, now." Anna nodded, suddenly dry-mouthed. She followed him to the main room where the piano waited. Her hands were trembling slightly as she sat down on the bench. It had been years since she'd played a piano this fine, this responsive. She took a deep breath and began to play Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major. The first notes filled the room, rich and resonant in a way her home piano could never manage. She closed her eyes, letting muscle memory guide her through the familiar piece. The music flowed through her, and for a moment she forgot where she was, forgot the audience of servers and kitchen staff gathering at the edges of the room. When she finished, there was silence. Anna opened her eyes to see Mr. Keller watching her with an unreadable expression. "You've been serving drinks in my restaurant for 2 years, and I didn't know you could do that?" he finally said. Anna didn't know how to respond. She'd gotten used to keeping her two lives separate. Play something else, he said. Something more impressive. She thought for a moment, then launched into Liszt's La Campanella, one of the most technically challenging pieces in the piano repertoire. Her fingers flew over the keys, muscle memory taking over where conscious thought couldn't keep up. The rapid notes and complex runs filled the room, and she heard a few gasps from her coworkers. When she finished, slightly out of breath, she looked up to see the event coordinator standing beside Mr. Keller, mouth slightly open. That was extraordinary, the woman said. She was elegantly dressed with a symphony foundation pin on her lapel. You work here? She's one of our servers, Mr. Keller replied before Anna could answer. Apparently she's been hiding this talent from us. The woman, Ms. Chen, according to her name tag, approached the piano. Viktor Andropov called in sick. We've been trying to find a replacement all morning. I heard, Anna said. I can fill in if you'd like. I know most of the standard repertoire. Ms. Chen looked skeptical. The guests are expecting a professional. This is a major fundraising event. Let me play one more piece, Anna said, surprising herself with her boldness. Then decide. Without waiting for permission, she began Rachmaninoff's Prelude in G minor, the piece she'd been practicing for the competition. It was passionate, dramatic, technically demanding, and she put everything she had into it. Each phrase was shaped with care, each dynamic shift deliberate. This was her audition, her chance, and she knew it. When the final chords faded, Miss Chen was already nodding. We'll need to change the program, she said, pulling out her phone. What pieces do you have ready to perform? We'll need about 45 minutes of music, split between the cocktail hour and after dinner. Anna's mind raced through her repertoire. I can do Debussy's Clair de Lune and the Chopin and Liszt pieces I just played, Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor, and several Bach pieces. Perfect, Miss Chen said, typing rapidly. We'll introduce you as... What's your full name? Anna Rivera. Anna Rivera, guest pianist. I'll have new programs printed immediately. She turned to Mr. Keller. She'll need to be taken off service for tonight, obviously. Mr. Keller nodded. We'll manage the staff adjustment. They spoke about her as if she wasn't there, making quick decisions that felt surreal. Just like that, Anna had gone from server to performer. You should go home and rest before tonight, Mr. Keller told her. And bring something appropriate to wear. Anna thought of her limited wardrobe. She had one black dress she used for auditions. Simple but formal enough. It would have to do. I'll be back by 6, she promised. As she gathered her things to leave, Lou caught up with her near the staff exit. Why didn't you ever tell us? He asked, looking both impressed and slightly hurt. All those times we talked about music and you never mentioned you could play like that. Anna shrugged, unsure how to explain. It's complicated. That part of my life. It didn't work out the way I planned. It's easier not to talk about it. Lou shook his head. Well, you're definitely not just a server anymore. Good luck tonight, though I don't think you need it. On the bus ride home, Anna sat in a daze, the morning's events playing on loop in her mind. She should be excited, thrilled even, but instead she felt strangely numb, as if watching someone else's life take an unexpected turn. At her apartment, she practiced again, but differently now, not drilling difficult passages but playing through entire pieces, imagining the room, the audience, the moment. Her mind kept returning to the feeling of the Steinway under her fingers, so responsive, so alive. As evening approached, she showered and dressed with care, applying makeup she rarely wore and pinning up her hair. The black dress still fit well enough, though it was a few years old now. She looked at herself in the mirror. A stranger stared back, someone between the conservatory student she'd been and the waitress she'd become. Just play the music, she told her reflection. Everything else will take care of itself. The rain had stopped by the time Anna arrived back at the restaurant. The street outside was lined with luxury cars and well-dressed guests making their way inside. She slipped in through the staff entrance, her dress hidden under her raincoat. Ms. Chen found her immediately. There you are. The cocktail hour starts in 15 minutes. We've adjusted the lighting near the piano and had the sound technician check the acoustics. Anna nodded, her mouth suddenly dry again. This was really happening. Backstage in the small prep area, she hung up her coat and took several deep breaths. Through the door, she could hear the growing murmur of guests arriving, champagne glasses clinking, polite laughter. These were the people who funded the symphony, who sat on boards and made decisions about which musicians were worthy of attention. Tonight they would hear her play. Tonight, for 45 minutes, she would be more than just a server in their eyes. Anna rolled her shoulders, flexed her fingers, and waited for her cue. The guests had filled the restaurant by the time Ms. Chen returned to the prep area. "We're ready for you now," she said, her voice professional but her eyes betraying a hint of worry. "Remember, just background music during cocktails. Nothing too dramatic yet." Anna nodded, smoothing her black dress one last time. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she followed Ms. Chen through the kitchen and into the main dining room. The space was now filled with people in expensive clothes, jewelry catching the light from the chandeliers. The steady hum of conversation and laughter surrounded her. No one noticed as she made her way to the piano. These people were used to being entertained, used to live music as a backdrop for their socializing. Anna sat down at the bench, took a deep breath, and placed her hands on the keys. She began with Bach, something light but complex, perfect for background music. The first note seemed to disappear into the noise of the room. No heads turned, no conversations paused. She was just another fixture, like the centerpieces or the lighting. That was fine. Expected, even. Anna relaxed slightly, letting her fingers find their way through familiar patterns. After Bach, she moved into Mozart, then a gentler Chopin piece. The music flowed easily, and she found herself enjoying the freedom of playing without the pressure of attention. Then she noticed something changing. The noise level in the room had dropped slightly. A few people near the piano had stopped their conversations and turned to watch her. An older gentleman with silver hair had taken a seat at a nearby table, his focus entirely on her hands as they moved across the keys. Anna shifted into Debussy's Clair de Lune, one of her favorite pieces to play. Its gentle opening notes seemed to float above the crowd, delicate but somehow cutting through the social noise. More heads turned. More conversations paused. By the time she reached the crescendo, at least 20 people had gathered around the piano, watching her with expressions ranging from curiosity to surprise. Anna kept her eyes on the keys, afraid that making eye contact might break the spell, might remind her that she was just a server who had stepped out of her role. When she finished the Debussy piece, there was a moment of silence followed by actual applause. Anna looked up, startled. The small crowd around the piano was clapping for her, not just polite acknowledgement but genuine appreciation. "Excuse me," a woman's voice said beside her. Anna turned to see an elegant older woman in a deep blue gown. That was beautifully played. "Are you with the symphony?" The question caught Anna off guard. "No," she said. "I'm just filling in tonight." The woman raised an eyebrow. "Well, you play with remarkable sensitivity. Would you mind terribly playing something else? Something a bit more challenging, perhaps?" Anna glanced around, noticing that the circle of listeners had grown. Ms. Chen was watching from near the bar, her expression a mix of surprise and relief. "I'd be happy to," Anna replied, turning back to the keys. She chose Chopin's Ballad No. 1 in G minor, a piece that started gently enough but built to a technical tour de force. As she played the opening bars, she felt the familiar sensation of disappearing into the music, her surroundings fading as the notes took over. The piece required everything she had: delicacy and power, control and abandon. Her fingers flew through the difficult runs, her whole body leaning into the emotional crescendos. This wasn't background music anymore, this was a performance. By the time she hit the final dramatic chords, the room had gone completely silent. Anna looked up, breathing hard, to find nearly half the guests gathered around the piano, watching her with expressions of astonishment. The applause that followed was immediate and enthusiastic. Ms. Chen appeared at her side, beaming now. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest pianist for tonight, Ana Rivera," she announced, gesturing toward Anna. "We'll be hearing more from her after dinner." More applause followed, and suddenly people were approaching her, asking questions, offering compliments. It was overwhelming. Anna answered as best she could, trying to be gracious while her mind spun with the surreal turn of events. "Where did you study?" asked one man who introduced himself as a board member of the symphony. "The conservatory," Anna replied. "For 3 years, and now you play with—" "I'm not currently with an ensemble," she said carefully. She wasn't ready to tell these people that she usually carried their plates and refilled their water glasses. Thankfully, Ms. Chen announced that dinner would be served, giving Anna a chance to retreat to the prep area. Lou found her there, his eyes wide. "The kitchen staff is talking about nothing but you," he said, adjusting his bow tie. "Denny keeps telling everyone he always knew there was something different about you." Anna laughed. "He did not." "No, he really didn't," Lou admitted with a grin. "But seriously, you were amazing out there. Those people were eating it up. And they don't impress easily, trust me. I've served them enough times to know." Anna sipped water from a bottle, trying to calm her nerves. The initial performance had gone well, better than she'd dared hope. But the after-dinner set would be different. People would be actively listening, not just surprised by background music that happened to be extraordinary. "I just don't want to mess this up," she said quietly. "You won't," Lou assured her. "Just do what you were doing out there. Whatever it was working." Dinner service seemed to pass in a blur. Anna remained in the prep area, going over the more difficult passages of her chosen pieces in her mind, her fingers moving silently through the motions. She could hear the clinking of silverware, the murmur of conversation, the occasional burst of laughter from the dining room. These were normal sounds from her regular workday, but tonight they held a different meaning. Tonight she wasn't navigating between those tables with plates balanced on her arm. Tonight she was the entertainment, the artist. Miss Chen appeared again after the dessert course. "They're ready for you," she said, "and they're excited. I haven't seen this group this interested in a performance in ages." Anna followed her back into the dining room. The tables had been rearranged slightly to create better viewing angles toward the piano. The lights had been dimmed except for those highlighting the piano. It was now a stage, the instrument gleaming under the soft spotlights. As Anna took her seat, a hush fell over the room. These people had paid to support the symphony, but tonight they were getting something unexpected, a discovery. She could feel their curiosity, their anticipation. She began with Rachmaninoff's Prelude in C-sharp minor, its famous opening chords commanding immediate attention. The piece was dramatic, powerful, and she leaned into that drama, letting her body move with the music. When she transitioned into the middle section, with its delicate, almost reluctant melody, she could feel the audience holding their breath. Time seemed to both stretch and compress as she played. The restaurant disappeared, the audience disappeared, and there was only the music, the thing that had been her constant companion through every up and down of her life. She moved from Rachmaninoff to Liszt's La Campanella, its playful, bell-like tones dancing through the room. The technical challenges of the piece, the rapid repeated notes, the wide leaps, the crossed hands, had always given her trouble during practice. But tonight her fingers found each note perfectly, as if the piano itself was helping her along. The audience's reaction was immediate when she finished. Applause. Cheers. Even a few people rising to their feet. Anna stood and gave a small bow, her face flushed with exertion and emotion. "Encore," someone called and others joined in. Anna hesitated, looking toward Ms. Chen, who nodded enthusiastically. She hadn't prepared an encore piece, but there was one more work she knew by heart, Chopin's Nocturne in B-flat minor, a hauntingly beautiful piece she often played for herself during difficult times. She sat down again and the room quieted once more. The Nocturne began softly, almost like a lullaby before unfolding into one of Chopin's most emotional works. Anna poured everything into it, her struggles, her disappointments, her refusal to give up on the thing she loved most. Each phrase was shaped with care, each note given its precise weight and meaning. When the final notes faded into silence, Anna kept her head bowed for a moment, surprised to find tears threatening at the corners of her eyes. The applause that followed seemed distant at first, then grew louder as she returned to herself in the moment. She stood and bowed again, this time looking out at the audience. They were all on their feet now, wealthy donors, symphony board members, arts patrons, applauding a waitress they didn't recognize as the person who normally served their meals. Ms. Chen approached with a glass of champagne. "That was extraordinary," she said, pressing the glass into Anna's hand. "People are asking about you." Important people. Before Anna could respond, she was surrounded by guests offering compliments, asking questions, handing her business cards. An older man introduced himself as the director of community outreach for the symphony, mentioning something about auditions and opportunities. Lou caught her eye from across the room where he was clearing dessert plates. He gave her a thumbs up and a wide smile. Near the kitchen door, she spotted Denny and Mr. Keller watching with expressions of disbelief mixed with something that looked almost like pride. "Who discovered you?" a woman in an expensive-looking red dress asked. "How have we not heard you play before?" Anna took a sip of champagne, considering her answer. The truth was both simple and complicated. No one had discovered her. She'd been here all along, hiding in plain sight, pouring water and taking orders while dreams of moments like this stayed carefully tucked away. "I guess," she said finally, a small smile playing at her lips. "I discovered myself. Tonight." The morning after the charity event, Anna woke to sunlight streaming through her apartment windows and the sound of her phone buzzing repeatedly. She reached for it, still half asleep, and squinted at the screen. 12 missed calls, 23 text messages, and an inbox full of emails from addresses she didn't recognize. For a moment, she wondered if she was still dreaming. Then the memories of last night came flooding back. The piano, the music, the applause. The business cards pressed into her hand. The first voicemail was from Ms. Chen. "Anna, this is Vivian Chen from the Symphony Foundation. Several board members have expressed interest in speaking with you about opportunities. Please call me back at your earliest convenience." The second was from Mr. Keller. "Anna, it's David Keller. We need to talk about your position at Lumiere. Call me." That one made her stomach twist with anxiety. Was he upset that she'd kept her musical background a secret? Was he going to fire her for some reason? She still needed that job. One night of applause didn't pay rent. She scrolled through her texts. Most were from Lou and other co-workers, all variations on OMG and "you were amazing. And why didn't you tell us?" There was even one from Denny. "Whole restaurant talking about you. Customers asking if you're performing again tonight. Call Keller ASAP." Anna sat up suddenly wide awake. The events of last night had felt like a beautiful dream, but in the light of day, they were taking on real-world consequences she hadn't fully considered. She called Mr. Keller first, figuring her job was the most immediate concern. "Anna," he answered on the first ring. "I've been trying to reach you. Sorry, I just woke up. Is everything okay?" "Okay?" The restaurant's phone has been ringing all morning. "The symphony event organizers want to know if we've signed you to regular performances. 2 local news outlets have called asking for your contact information. A video of you playing is apparently making rounds on social media." Anna felt the blood drain from her face. "A video? Someone at the event recorded your performance and shared it. These things spread quickly." He paused. "I need to know what your plans are." "My plans? Are you planning to continue working at Lumiere? Because if you are, we should discuss how to handle the fact that our customers now see you differently. And if you're not, if you're planning to pursue music full-time after this, I need to know that too." Anna stared at the wall opposite her bed, where a framed photo of her grandmother at her piano hung. She hadn't thought this far ahead. Last night had been about seizing a moment, not changing her entire life. "I still need my job," she said finally. "Until something else is certain at least." "Good," Mr. Keller replied, sounding relieved. "Because I have a proposition for you. What would you think about playing at the restaurant regularly, Friday and Saturday evenings to start? We'd adjust your server schedule and pay you separately for performing." Anna blinked in surprise. "You want me to play at Lumiere? As the entertainment?" "After last night, it makes sense," he said. "You clearly have talent, and our clientele appreciates that. It would be good for business. Good for you, too, I think." It wasn't a career with the symphony, but it was something, a step toward making music part of her professional life again. "I'd like that," she said, her voice steadier now. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Mr. Keller replied. "It's a business decision. You brought something special to the restaurant last night, and I'm smart enough to recognize its value. We'll talk details when you come in." After hanging up, Anna made coffee and sat at her piano, not playing yet, just thinking. Her life had taken an unexpected turn, and she was still trying to catch up to it. She should feel elated, and part of her did, but there was also a strange sense of vertigo, like standing at the edge of something both wonderful and frightening. Her next call was to Ms. Chen, who answered immediately. "Anna, I'm so glad you called. The response to your performance last night has been extraordinary." "So I've heard," Anna replied. "Someone posted a video?" "Several someones, actually. But don't worry, they're all very flattering. The point is people are asking about you. Important people. Ms. Chen explained that the symphony's community outreach program had an opening for a pianist. It wasn't a position with the main orchestra, but it involved performing at schools and community centers, teaching workshops, and occasionally playing at symphony fundraisers. It's part-time to start, Ms. Chen said, but it could lead to other opportunities. Would you be interested? Would she be interested? It was exactly the kind of opportunity she'd been hoping for since leaving the conservatory. A chance to perform regularly, to teach, to be recognized as a musician rather than just someone who had studied music once. Yes, Anna said, her voice breaking slightly. I would definitely be interested. Wonderful. I'll set up a meeting with the program director. He was at the event last night and was very impressed. After hanging up, Anna finally checked her email. Among the messages from people she'd met last night was one from the local news station, requesting an interview for a segment they were calling Hidden Talents. There was another from a piano bar across town, offering her a weekend slot. And there, buried among the others, was an email with a subject line that made her heart skip. Regional Piano Competition, Application Update. She'd almost forgotten. She'd applied to the competition weeks ago, the one she'd been saving up for, the one with the $5,000 prize. She opened the email with shaking fingers. Dear Ms. Rivera, we are pleased to inform you that your application and audition video have been accepted. You are invited to perform in the final round of competition on... Anna let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a sob. After months of rejections or worse, silence, suddenly everyone wanted to hear her play. She spent the next hour watching the videos of her performance that had been posted online. The quality varied, but in each one she could see what had captivated the audience. There was a freedom in her playing, an emotional honesty that came through the screen. Maybe it was because she'd had nothing to lose in that moment. No carefully constructed career to protect, no reputation to uphold. She'd simply played with her whole heart, and people had responded to that. The comments beneath the videos ranged from impressed to astonished. Who is she? Was a common question. Some had already figured it out. She's actually a waitress at the restaurant, followed by not anymore, I bet. That last comment gave her pause. She wasn't just a waitress, had never been just anything, but that role had supported her through difficult years. It had given her stability when her music dreams seemed to be slipping away. There was no shame in that. Yet now things were shifting. Mr. Keller's offer to play at the restaurant, the potential position with the symphony's outreach program, the competition. For the first time in years, music was moving from the margins of her life back toward the center. Her phone rang again. Lou calling to demand details about last night. The whole restaurant's talking about you, he said when she answered. There's already a rumor that you're quitting to go on tour with some famous orchestra. Anna laughed. Not quite. But some interesting things are happening. I bet. Hold on. Denny wants to know if you're coming in for your shift today. Half the staff thinks you're going to ghost us now that you're famous. I'm not famous, Anna protested. And yes, I'll be there. My shift starts at 4, right? There was a pause on the other end. You're really coming in? After last night? Of course I am, Anna said firmly. Nothing's changed yet. But of course everything had changed. As she got ready for her shift, Anna couldn't help wondering how different it would feel to walk into Lumiere today. Would the other servers treat her differently? Would customers recognize her from the videos? She chose to walk rather than take the bus, using the time to clear her head. The city felt different somehow, as if her changed perspective had altered the physical world around her. She noticed a street musician playing guitar in the park, really noticed him, wondering about his story, his journey. When she arrived at the restaurant, she slipped in through the staff entrance as usual. But there was nothing usual about the reaction. Conversation stopped when she entered the break room. People she'd worked alongside for years looked at her with new eyes. There she is, Lou called out, breaking the awkward silence. Our resident piano genius. Anna felt her face grow warm. Stop it, she said. I'm still just me. Just you who secretly plays piano like a world-class musician, another server replied. No big deal. Mr. Keller appeared in the doorway. Anna, a word in my office before you start your shift. She followed him, aware of the eyes following her. In his office, he handed her a folder. These are the terms for the performance arrangement we discussed, he said. 2 nights a week to start, separate from your server hours. Take it home, look it over, let me know if you want to proceed. Anna nodded, accepting the folder. Thank you for the opportunity. Mr. Keller studied her for a moment. You know, I've had a lot of staff come through here over the years. Many of them talk about their other talents, their real passions, the careers they're going to have someday. Most of it is just talk. He paused. You never talked about it. You just did it when the moment came. That's rare. Anna didn't know what to say to that. It felt like both a compliment and a gentle rebuke. Your shift today is different, he continued. Some of the lunch customers requested your section specifically. They were at the event last night. They want to meet you. Anna felt a flutter of nervousness. What do I say to them? Mr. Keller almost smiled. Whatever you want. You're not just a server to them anymore. But remember, you weren't ever just a server. Not to yourself. That's what makes the difference. As Anna pinned on her name tag and prepared to start her shift, she realized he was right. The world might see her differently after last night. But the real change had happened long before, in the quiet hours at her piano, in her refusal to give up on music even when the path forward wasn't clear. Last night hadn't transformed her. It had simply revealed what was already there. 3 months had passed since the night Anna played piano at the symphony charity event, and her life had taken on a rhythm she was still getting used to. Today marked another milestone, her last regular shift at Lumiere. She moved between tables with practiced efficiency, taking orders and delivering food as she had for years. But now customers sometimes did double takes when they read her name tag, or asked if she was the piano player. Some even requested her section specifically. Going to miss this place? Lou asked as they restocked napkins at the server station. Parts of it, Anna admitted. Not my feet hurting at the end of every shift, though. Lou laughed. Fair enough. The restaurant won't be the same without you. It was strange to think about. For so long, this job had been her lifeline, the steady income that kept her afloat while her music dreams seemed to drift further away. Now she was leaving, not out of defeat but because of new opportunities. The Symphony Foundation's community outreach program had offered her a full-time position after her 3-month trial period went better than anyone expected. The children she taught in after-school programs connected with her in a way they hadn't with previous instructors. You talk about music like it's a friend, one little boy had told her. Not like it's homework. That might have been the best compliment she'd ever received. Between teaching 3 days a week, performing at community events, and her weekend gigs at Lumiere, Anna's schedule had grown too crowded. Something had to give, and Mr. Keller had been surprisingly understanding when she gave notice. We always knew this was temporary, he'd said. The fact that you stayed this long after that night says something about your character. Anna finished her last table and turned in her final receipts. As she hung up her apron in the break room, she felt a bittersweet pang. This small room had been part of her daily life for years, the place where she'd eaten quick meals between rushes, complained about difficult customers, occasionally shed frustrated tears when things got overwhelming. Denny appeared in the doorway. We got you something, he said, awkwardly holding out a gift bag. From everyone. Anna took it, surprised. Inside was a framed photo of her at the piano during her first official performance at Lumiere, taken a few days after the charity event. She was playing, eyes closed, completely absorbed in the music. Someone had asked everyone on staff to sign the mat around the photo. This is really thoughtful, she said, genuinely touched. Thank you. Yeah, well, Denny shifted uncomfortably. You made us look good. That piano night has been packed every weekend since you started playing. It was as close to sentimentality as Denny ever got. Anna smiled. I'll be back to visit, she promised. And I'm still playing here Saturdays for now. That arrangement had worked well, Anna performing for the dinner crowd every Saturday evening. The customers loved it, and the tips for all the servers improved on piano nights. Even after today, she would continue that part of her connection to Lumiere. Mr. Keller was waiting for her near the exit. Ready for the next chapter? He asked. Anna nodded. I think so. Thanks for everything, especially for letting me play that night. I'd say it worked out for both of us, he replied. The restaurant's booking rate is up 15% since we added live piano music. Sometimes the right business decision and the right human decision are the same thing. Outside, the autumn air was crisp, leaves beginning to turn gold and red along the street. Anna walked to the bus stop, her mind already shifting to tomorrow, the regional piano competition she'd been preparing for over the last 3 months. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Just arrived at the hotel. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. So proud of you, mija," Anna smiled. Her parents were driving in from out of state to watch her compete. They'd been surprised but thrilled by the sudden turn in her musical career. Her father, fully recovered from his heart attack now, had told everyone in their hometown about his daughter, the pianist. Back at her apartment, Anna sat at her piano, not the old upright she'd had for years, but the baby grand she'd purchased with her first 3 months of symphony program earnings. It had been a stretch financially, but the moment she'd played it in the showroom, she knew it was meant to be hers. She ran through her competition pieces one final time: a Bach prelude and fugue, a Beethoven sonata, and the Rachmaninoff that had been her personal challenge for months. Her hands moved with confidence now, the hours of practice evident in every phrase, every transition. When she finished, she closed the piano lid gently. There was nothing more to be done now, just rest, focus, and trust in the work she'd put in. The next morning dawned clear and cool. Anna dressed carefully in the new outfit she'd bought for the competition, simple but elegant black pants and a deep blue blouse that brought out her eyes. Her old audition dress had been retired, a relic of a different chapter. The competition was being held at the city's Performing Arts Center, a venue Anna had visited many times as an audience member but never as a performer. Walking into the grand lobby, seeing her name on the program felt surreal. Backstage, other competitors warmed up on practice pianos or sat quietly, reviewing sheet music or simply concentrating. Anna found a quiet corner and closed her eyes, mentally running through her pieces while her fingers moved subtly in her lap. One by one, the pianists were called to perform. Anna listened to snippets of others playing, all skilled, some truly exceptional. When her name was finally called, she took a deep breath and walked onto the stage. The concert hall was larger than she'd expected, with hundreds of seats stretching back into the dimness. The judges sat in the front row, their expressions neutral as they made notes on their clipboards. And there, a few rows back, she spotted her parents, Lou, and even Mr. Keller with Miss Chen. Anna sat at the magnificent concert grand, adjusted the bench, and placed her hands on the keys. For a moment she was transported back to that night 3 months ago, when she'd sat at another piano, terrified but determined. So much had changed since then, yet the essential thing remained the same, just her and the music. She began to play. Time seemed to stretch and compress as she moved through her program. The Bach was precise but alive, each voice distinct and clear. The Beethoven flowed from dramatic to tender and back again, telling its complex emotional story. And then the Rachmaninoff, the piece that had challenged her for so long, now unfolding under her fingers with both technical precision and deeply felt expression. When she struck the final chords, there was a moment of complete silence before the applause began. Anna stood and bowed, her heart racing but her mind calm. Whatever the outcome, she had played her best. The award ceremony wasn't scheduled until that evening. Anna joined her parents for lunch, grateful for the distraction of their company. "You looked so at home up there," her mother said, reaching across the table to squeeze her hand. "Like you were exactly where you belonged." Anna nodded. That was exactly how it had felt. When they returned for the announcement of results, the lobby was buzzing with competitors and their families. Anna tried not to think about the prize money or the performance opportunity that came with first place, focusing instead on how good it felt to be part of this world again, the world of people who lived for music. The lights dimmed, signaling everyone to return to the concert hall. Anna sat between her parents, trying to keep her breathing steady as the judges took the stage. Third place was announced. Not her. Second place, not her either. Anna felt her father's hand tighten on her arm as they prepared to announce the winner. And the first place in this year's regional piano competition goes to Ana Rivera. The applause was immediate and enthusiastic. Anna sat frozen for a moment, not quite believing what she'd heard. Her mother nudged her gently and she stood, making her way to the stage on legs that didn't quite feel like her own. As she accepted the award, looking out at the applauding audience, Anna caught sight of Ms. Chen giving her a thumbs up. Lou was on his feet, cheering loudly enough to earn glares from more reserved audience members. Her parents were beaming with pride. Later, as Anna stood in the lobby accepting congratulations from strangers and friends alike, A distinguished-looking woman approached her. "Ms. Rivera? I'm Diane Porter, Artistic Director at the Music Academy. We're looking for a pianist in residence for our summer program. After your performance today, I'd like to discuss the possibility with you." Another door opening, another opportunity appearing where none had existed before. Anna smiled and exchanged contact information with the woman, adding her card to the growing collection in her purse. Outside, the evening had turned cool and clear, stars beginning to appear in the darkening sky. Anna's parents had gone to bring the car around, leaving her a moment alone on the steps of the Performing Arts Center. She looked up at the stars, then back at the building behind her with its grand lobby and perfect acoustics. 3 months ago, she'd been a waitress who played piano in her apartment after long shifts on aching feet. Now she was a competition winner, a teacher, a performer, all the things she'd dreamed of being. The path hadn't been straight or simple. There had been detours and disappointments, times when giving up had seemed like the only sensible choice. But she hadn't given up. She'd kept playing, kept practicing, kept believing, even when the only audience was herself. Anna thought of the children she now taught, some of whom would face their own challenging paths. She could show them, through her own story, that talent isn't always discovered dramatically, that success doesn't always arrive suddenly. Sometimes it comes after years of quiet persistence, after countless hours of work that no one sees or applauds. Her parents' car pulled up, and Anna walked down the steps toward them, toward home, toward whatever came next in this new chapter of her life, the one where she was first and foremost a musician,